Hello everyone, welcome to another Growth Chat by Mail Modo. I am Akib, your host today, and we have a very special guest today, Krishma Rajaratnam, who leads growth marketing at Vidyard. She has a very illustrious career. She founded her own marketing agency first, and then she had a long stint at Chartbee, where she saw various stages of growth at the very early stages of Chartbee. And today we have her here to share her own experience and especially how videos can be used by marketing and sales team to grow across the funnel acquisition engagement and revenue and retention. So we are bringing Karishma live, and she's here. Hey Karishma, thank you for joining us here today.
Thanks so much, Akib. Super excited to be here.
So, Karishma, we'll just start with a quick introduction and your background, and then we'll talk more about how videos can be used by marketing and sales team across the funnel. So, to start with, let's start with a bit of background. How did you start into marketing domain? How did you come into marketing domain, especially for SaaS businesses?
Sure. So I think I got into SaaS a little bit by accident. I didn't always plan on it. I had initially, in university, I had studied psychology and initially wanted to be in academia, pursuing psychology. Started off building a career in behavioral science and in academia. I quickly realized that it wasn't really the right cup of tea for me. So
Mm,
I went on to start my own digital marketing agency because while I was doing psychology, I was always interested in marketing and applying some of the learnings that I was seeing in behavioral science to marketing and
mm,
to the consumer's sort of mindset. So
mm,
I decided to, set up my own digital marketing agency and really work with customers across the world to help set up online marketing strategies, set up their online marketing strategies. And
mm,
one such customer happened to be ChargeBee at the time. So I was working with the team as a consultant. So they were a customer of my agency. And then I quickly realized that the services space wasn't really the one that I wanted to be in and scale over time. And I wanted to get into the product and SaaS market because while working with ChargeBee, I found the entire problem space super interesting. I really liked the team, and it made a lot of sense for me to, think about learning new skill sets in the SaaS world. And so that's how I transitioned from services into SaaS. And then it just took off from there, where I really enjoyed my time at ChargeBee and then helping build a SaaS company from ground up. And then now I'm at Vidyard, where
mm.
my role is within growth marketing and leading the growth marketing team here.
So yeah, that's very interesting. Being coming from a psychology background and coming to marketing, I have seen very few people like that, but all of them have been very perceptive about customer understanding. And so, did it help? Like, did coming from a psychology background help you in your career or in growing your products?
Yeah, it honestly did. Like I feel like a lot of SaaS founders today are reading a lot of the psychology books that I was reading back in the day when I was, pursuing my master's in it. So a lot of Daniel Kahneman's work and Dan Ariely's work is being read within the startup space today to really try to not just get into the mindset of the customer's shoes, but also the mindset of the team. Because I think a lot of what you learn about like behavioral biases and things like that can really be applied into a team context as well in a startup. So when you're building your own team, for example, just right from when you're hiring, like where are you being biased in the hiring process? What are some of the biases that play into your day-to-day job role? I think like just being aware of like our mental models and our biases can be really helpful in like scaling within a company. But then also, like you said, putting yourself in the mindset of the customer and in like the customer's shoes is a lot easier if you've had that understanding from a course like that in the past. So, I mean, I don't think you necessarily need to do a course in psychology to learn about any of this. Like there are tons of books and resources out there. Like I said, I've seen many startup founders talk about the different books they've been reading on Twitter. So I feel like, there's a lot of content already out there, and you don't necessarily have to have that educational background, but it's definitely helpful to just read up on some of these psychological concepts and biases.
Which book would you recommend to founders like me?
I think Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, it's a classic. It's an older book compared to what's being recently published, but I think it really goes back to the fundamentals of like all of the behavioral biases that we're subject to on a daily basis. And he sort of collates and curates a bunch of different studies that have been done across the world with different sample sets, and then explains how, how each bias functions and how it's been tested across like different samples. So I think, yeah, that's a classic book that's definitely worth reading. And there's also Nudge, which is a
Hmm.
nice book as well.
Yeah, Nudge is a really nice book. Yeah, definitely agree with that. So, moving forward, you have uh, you have a very long journey at Chargebee. Like you spent like about 5 years, and then now you're working with a global player like Vidyard. What are the some of the key learnings that you have that you would like to share, uh, and which is common in these companies, and also which are different in these companies?
Yeah, for sure. So I think like in the early days of setting ChargeBee up, first off, like the ecosystem wasn't as developed as it is today. Like, so for example, even in the Indian SaaS market, right, like the Indian SaaS ecosystem wasn't as big as it was today. I think there have been so many amazing startups that have come out in the Indian ecosystem over the last, like, say, 5 years or so.
Hmm.
But zoom back like 5 to 6 years ago, like the ecosystem was still very much in its early stage and developing. So back then there weren't as many resources that we could personally tap into compared to today, when like there's just so much, there are so many founders in the Indian ecosystem can learn from other founders. And that's, companies like Freshworks and Chargebee have really paved the way for that and are creating that ecosystem.
Hmm.
But back then I think it was a lot sort of tougher.
Hmm.
We also had to really think about how to make the brand global, right? Being a SaaS startup from India and having majority of our team in India, how can we really put ourselves in the mindset of the customer that we were selling to across North America and Europe and be very relevant and present for them? So a
Hmm.
lot of our marketing efforts in the early days were like international marketing efforts where we did a lot of events and a lot of in-person sort of meetups, and we really invested in that as well. So
Hmm.
post the Axel funding round was when we really started investing in events and trade shows as a channel. And the
Hmm.
whole point of that was to really be in front of the customer as much as possible and just have that face time as much as possible. I think
Hmm.
North American startups don't necessarily have to do that. It's still really important, but perhaps like not as important as, at least back then, for an Indian startup, like to really invest in that was necessary, so we were able to be present with the customer and be relevant as well. So I think that there's that sort of difference that exists. But otherwise I think like just given how global the Indian SaaS space has become, there's very little difference I personally see. Like I think companies like Chargebee have invested in having teams in North America as well, and that sort of closes the gap between India and North America and India and Europe. So building those global teams has become much more of a norm, I think, in the Indian SaaS space.
Yeah, yeah. So I think growing an early stage SaaS company would can be a topic for another discussion. It's in itself. So today we will focus more on around video marketing and using video inside email and across other channels. So now that you're working at Vidyard, can you share some of the learning and examples that you have come across where video has been being used across the customer journey from acquisition to revenue or further retention and referral? So give us some examples around that.
Sure. So at Vidyard, just for context for everyone on the call today, so Vidyard is a video creation platform that lets you create and send asynchronous videos to your customers, prospects, colleagues, and pretty much anyone you want to send a video to. So the whole advantage of using a software like Vidyard is that you don't need to get on a one-on-one Zoom meeting to communicate something. You can take a video of yourself talking about it. You can share your screen during that video, and then send out that video to anyone so they can watch it at their own leisure, right? So that creates like an asynchronous communication channel. And where we really see our customers using video, at least at the acquisition stage, is to get that initial conversation going with the prospect or a customer. So let's say you're a salesperson, an outbound salesperson, and with outbound, we know how difficult it is today to like really get to the customer. There are so many SaaS products out there, and sales reps are reaching out to people every day, reaching out to decision makers every day. And so these decision makers are like inundated with so much communication coming from different sales teams. So the question becomes like, how do you really stand out? And video is one of those channels that really helps you stand out. So by sending a customer or a prospect a one-to-one video, which is personalized just for them, it creates a channel where you can communicate with them and build a relationship one-on-one versus like a boring text-based email, which is really like dull in the sense that it's hard to build any kind of connection through that, right? So video helps you open up that connection. And the way we see sales teams use it at the acquisition stage is take a video talking about their product or their service, and then embedding it in their emails that they then send out to prospects. So it serves as a great tool for outbound sales communication. And we integrate with tools like Salesloft and Outreach, so you can easily create videos within Salesloft and then embed them in your email cadences. So that's how sales teams typically use us for acquisition. It's really around video prospecting and creating one-to-one videos for prospects. The way marketing teams can use video for top of funnel acquisition is really in the website, I think, because like the website is your critical channel by which you're communicating to customers. And typically users tend to visit your website once and then they take a decision on whether they want to sign up or not. So it's that one moment that you have to capture their attention. So video becomes a great product marketing tool for you to talk about like the value proposition of your product, and helps you encourage users to sign up. So marketing teams using video typically tend to embed videos on their website, be it a general like product marketing video or even a customer case study video. A lot of our customers use Vidyard to showcase like case studies of their own product or brand. So their customers take videos of themselves talking about the brand, and then our customers post those videos on their website. So, using video for customer marketing is also a great way to tap into the channel. But I think in a nutshell, like video just really helps you build that personal connection, which today in a remote world is super, super important, considering even salespeople can't meet their prospects as much face to face. So this is a great channel to kind of close that gap.
Yeah, so video definitely gives a face to our conversation, to talking to strangers. One question I had in mind. So, have you seen any kind of difference when if human face video is used versus a animation video is used? Any numbers or any examples that you have around that?
Yeah, I think in general, like we always recommend using a human in the video. Like I think the whole point of like using video to build personal communications or like personal relationships is really in having yourself in that video and building that personal communication. We haven't done specific tests on using animated videos versus personal videos, at least specifically not that I'm aware of at Vidyard. But in general, we find that videos that contain like these personal one-to-one like screen share videos or videos of just yourself speaking on the screen tend to perform a lot better than just text-based email. So we've seen that across several tests that these videos tend to have better open rates and better engagement rates on emails. And so we generally recommend to our customers that using a face in the video is super super critical, I think, in seeing that success.
Got it. So you also mentioned about one-on-one video personalization. So I think that sales team across, especially in SaaS businesses, focus a lot on personalization. How can they use tools like Vidyard to create this one-on-one personalization, and what kind of results have you seen because of that?
Sure. Yeah. So for sales team specifically, when it comes to prospecting, using video to talk a little bit, give prospects a little bit more context about your product or service is seen to be really useful. Because I think like with a text-based email, it's really hard to keep an email short and talk about your product. So that's where like the video comes in, where you can keep the email super short, but then have more context about what you're trying to sell in your video. And that also gives the person watching a lot more context, and it tends to increase conversion rates. um, Beyond like that acquisition process, I think like the way we've also seen sales teams use video is to help with deal closure. So for example, a big challenge in the sales process is following up with the customer once a demo is done. So typically sales teams can often find that a customer may come or a prospect may attend a demo, but then getting them to close the deal post the demo is a challenge in some cases, especially where sales cycles are longer. So video really helps you sort of keep that relationship going. And the way we recommend sales teams use video in the demo process is after a demo, sending out a video of your talking about like what the demo covered, summarizing some of the key points that were covered in the demo, and then also summarizing the next steps. We also highly recommend like taking asynchronous demos as well. So if, for example, you're selling to a prospect where there are multiple decision makers across the team and only a couple of people attended the demo and few people didn't, you can always then send the video recording of like an async demo to the people that didn't attend later on. And so that helps avoid having to like get multiple people to attend a synchronous demo, but you can really like still give everybody on the team context about what was discussed. So it's also a great follow up tool that helps you close deals faster and continue the relationship after that first demo. So that's kind of how we see sales team use it down the funnel as well.
Yeah, so that is a very interesting idea. Like, I never thought about it. Like, so I'm going to tell my sales team use it to follow up with a personalized video to everybody we give demo to. So that's a really interesting idea. So you were talking
That
about,
would be awesome.
yeah. So you were saying something.
No, I was saying that that would be awesome. Yeah, I mean, we'd love to see the male Modo team on Vidyard. Also, another way, I think, like a really interesting way we use video is to improve no-show rates. So when a
Mm,
prospect doesn't attend a demo that they've committed to attend, sending out a video saying like, "Hey there, I expected you on the demo but didn't see you. Can we maybe have reschedule like another time?" And then we
mm,
have like a CTA feature that allows you to like embed your Calendly link or your Chedi Piper link at the end of your video,
mm.
so the person watching can then go and click on the link and reschedule the demo. So we actually see a really high like re-engagement rate with these kinds of reminder videos across the
So
sales cycle.
this is a very good example of interactivity inside video. Like you are asking, showing a message and asking people to take an action right then and there instead of showing a separate CTA and then going to a landing page, etc. Uh, Probably very similar to what we are doing at Mailmodo, where we are asking people to book meetings, etc. within the email.
Exactly. Yeah. All of it is just towards reducing friction and helping the customer get to whatever they need to get to much faster.
Yeah. So you have been talking about a video inside email. Can you share some of the best practices of using the videos right way inside email? Like it, because a lot of people are concerned that if we use video, many email clients don't play videos inside email. Then if we use any kind of GIF, etc., the size of the GIF may be high. So these are some of the concern I have heard from different email marketers uh, over the time. So, can you share some of the best practices to get the best result out of having video inside email?
Sure. So I think I view email as more of a distribution channel for video. So it's true that if you're embedding a video inside email, you can't necessarily watch the video within the email. So you will still have to click on a thumbnail and then get taken to, in our case, a Vidyard sharing page where you can interact with and watch the video. So in the case of Vidyard, like our sharing pages are actually super interesting because you can brand up that sharing page, so it's almost like made to look and feel like your website. I'll actually pop an example into the chat here of like one of our customers and how they've branded their sharing pages. But the video share page is almost looked as like an additional channel to convert users and provide like an additional message besides just that one video, right? So email is really that channel by which you can embed the video and get the person to get to the share page and really watch that experience. You can't necessarily today like watch the video inside of the email client, but that's where the share page comes in, because by adding additional call to actions, additional like context on the video sharing page, you can get the customer to really interact with your website experience as well as the video, and not just only end the journey at the video level. So in general, again, like emails that have video tend to perform a lot better than emails that don't. And so using email as that initial distribution channel can be really helpful. One way to get like more results out of video and email is to have an animated thumbnail. So in an animated thumbnail, you can basically see movement within the thumbnail of the video, and we tend to see a lot more engagement with those animated thumbnails than just static thumbnails. Also, just like to throw some stats out there, like one of our partners, SalesLoft, did a study where they found that sales teams that use video within their emails generally tend to get a 26% increase in replies and a 16% bump in email open rate. So this was based off of a survey that they did. So we can see that video and email generally performs really well, but email is a distribution channel for video and not necessarily part of like the video viewing experience overall.
Yeah, so leading with that point, so what are the different channels beside emails where video can be used to distribute, and what kind of different numbers have you seen compared to email or in general?
Sure. So one big channel I think is LinkedIn. We see sales teams use specifically related to Vidyard use our LinkedIn integration to send one-to-one video prospecting messages within LinkedIn. So obviously, LinkedIn prospecting through LinkedIn Messenger is a big deal for sales teams. So creating videos right within LinkedIn and then sharing them one-on-one with prospects also sees a lot of like good results when done in addition to email.
Hmm.
Using social media and other platforms, using social media platforms like Twitter, YouTube, I think are also great ways to distribute your video. These are lent, like I think marketing teams lean on these channels a bit more. And it's actually interesting when you think about like how sales teams and marketing teams use video. With marketing teams, I think of video as like a one to many strategy where video is really like a storytelling tool used by marketing teams to distribute a story to a wider number of people, right? So if you're a marketer, you would want to share your video across social media. You would want to share it on Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and these channels so it reaches more eyeballs besides just your website. But if you're a salesperson, video is really, at least in the B2B SaaS context, used as a one-to-one relationship building tool. So your strategy here is more one-to-one than one-to-many. And so you would want to rely on distribution channels like LinkedIn, Gmail, so that you can send these one-to-one personalized video messages to prospects that you really want to build a relationship with. So I think the distribution channels kind of differ for sales teams and marketing teams, and they would see like different success metrics across these channels.
That is quite understandable, actually. So, like you were mentioning about first how we sales team can use video, building a one-to-one relationship, and how marketing can team can use it for one to many, and that has been very evident. Like if you see that video post on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc., gets more views than a normal post. So can you share some best practices from a marketer's point of view as well, or how it can be integrated into their other marketing efforts? How can they use it to bring more users to their platform, or maybe retain users to
Sure.
on the platform?
Sure. I think even in marketing, thinking about video as like a tool to build a relationship with customers is really interesting. And I'll give you an example of how we do it at Vidyard. So
Mm,
one of the challenges for my team, the growth marketing team at Vidyard, is to grow the number of retained users on our platform. So we have a freemium plan, and so we attract a wide number of users signing up for the product at the top of the funnel. And a
mm,
big goal for us is to get more of these users to continue using Vidyard and to create videos and see value in the platform. Because a free user is unlikely to convert to a paying customer unless they actually get value out of the platform. And so our team's goal is to work with our product onboarding team to really help users see that value.
mm,
And so one of the things that we do when a user creates their first video with Vidyard is that we send out an email that has an embedded video from our co-founder, Michael Litt, that
mm,
congratulates the user on creating their first video and then gives them like a specific call to action as like a next step. And we
mm,
see that video perform really, really well. So that email has click-through rates and open rates that are much higher than our benchmark. So we see like a close to 6% open rate on those emails, which is above our internal benchmark for sorry, 6% click-through rates, which is well above our benchmarks for CTRs for these types of emails.
mm,
So we generally find that those types of videos which help build that one-on-one relationship. In this case, it's the co-founder saying, you created your first video, that's amazing, keep creating, and here's a tip on like, how you can create more videos. So that is almost like a relationship building sort of exercise right at the early stage of a user onboarding journey. And so we
mm,
see that that performs really well. So I think thinking about like how you can use it to communicate critical concepts and ideas and build relationships with customers through your marketing communication cycle can be really useful overall for marketers.
Yeah, that's a very interesting insight actually. And using like nudging the user to create more videos with a video, that is very thoughtful. One
We've
of
also used it. We've also used Vidya very heavily on the onboarding side, where when a user signs up for the product. In the past, we've sent them video messages about how they can create their first video, how they can share their first video, how they can get views on their video. So I think video is also a great tool for you to use as a product onboarding as an product onboarding play, because you can really explain how to do specific things within your product using video without having to send the customer a long text based email about all the things they should be doing inside the product to learn the product.
that makes sense. So there is a use case for the product marketing teams and the product teams as well, where they can help their users use their product better.
For sure, yeah. And then we also use video for feature announcements. I think it's another great way to use video if you're a marketer. Like when you're launching a new feature, having
Mm.
either your co-founder or the head of product talk about why they're launching that feature, what it can do for the customer, and then embedding that within your emails can also be a really useful way to communicate new feature updates.
Yeah, more the use cases you are sharing here. More, I feel that video can be used to completely personalize the company or brand and uh, portray the company in a more personal uh, way, right? And it can be used across sales, marketing, or product.
Exactly. Yeah. Because, like, as a marketer, I think, like, you're dealing with a lot of noise in today's world where there's just so much communication that's going out to each individual user at any given point of time, or to lots of communication going out to your prospect at any given point in time. So, video is that channel that really allows you to explain an elaborate idea or a concept um, in a way that just makes it really simple, right? Without having to communicate everything in words or in text. It helps you relay complex ideas and break it down into like very simple language, and helps you like distribute those ideas a bit more widely. So I think as a marketer, it's just a superb tool that you can tap into as an alternate for text based email or text based content.
Yeah, definitely. It makes a lot of sense. In my experience, what I have seen that a lot of marketers or companies are afraid of using video as a channel because it seems a lot of efforts. You need a video editor, you need a script writer, you need a lot of people to create videos. So, is that true, or is there a magic way of creating videos very fast and easily, and even a small early stage teams can do use videos to in marketing and sales?
Yeah, so we actually see that the videos that perform the best are the ones that are the most natural and real. So I think previously, like because video wasn't as commonly used, it was almost like the norm to have like a super high production, like really well made video um, that you would then share with customers. But today that narrative is really changing, where you're seeing a lot of like the videos, even for example, videos that you see founders share on Twitter and LinkedIn are
Mm,
the types of videos that are very, very natural. They just, have like literally a person in front of the camera talking about an idea or a concept or an update, and
mm,
being really very real, right, in the whole process of doing that. So we see that those types of videos that are natural perform the best. And in fact, we encourage sales teams particularly to
mm,
send out videos that are extremely real and natural. And just because it's easier to build a relationship if you're being real, and
mm,
being comfortable in front of the camera is important, but you don't have to get the video perfect for it to work well. Like even videos that have a few ums and ahs and a little bit of errors here and there in between perform
mm.
really well and get prospects to take action, because then they feel like it's a real human being that's reaching out, and it's not something that has taken that person like 10 days to produce and send out. So it just feels like a lot more natural. So we actually recommend, not necessarily throwing in too much production costs on these types of videos, especially with something like a feature announcement video. I think, it's absolutely all right for that to be a natural video the person who's built the feature can just get in front of the camera and talk about it. It doesn't necessarily have to be super polished and super high production.
So what you were saying is, what matters is the content in the video and not the show itself, right? So having the right content to be real.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the content. Content is king in this case, I guess. So having the right types of content in the video is the most important. And it's not so much about getting every piece of the content perfect. It's just about communicating the right ideas and just being clear as possible in your communication.
Yeah. So, for a early stage team who wants to start using video in their marketing efforts today, what are the tools, softwares, or accessories would you recommend them to start with, or what kind of team or what kind of people skill set would you uh, suggest to have on the team?
Sure. So I think definitely like from a software perspective, you need a software that lets you create these videos. So obviously Vidyard is one such software where you can, use it to create and share videos. There are also other softwares out there in the market that you can use to create your videos. So you need a video recording software that will let you embed your videos across like email, across your website, and across different channels. So that becomes critical, and preferably a software that lets you share your screen as well while you're speaking, because a lot of the times having visual context when you create a video is really like helpful when you're communicating an idea.
Mm.
um, Having the software also be able to send your video data into your marketing automation platforms or your sales CRM is also really helpful. So one of
Mm.
the ways we actually use video at Vidyard is to we use video to lead score our prospects and leads within our CRM. So based on how much a lead has engaged with video content on our website, we
Mm.
we iterate on their lead score, right? So if we send out a video to a prospect and they watch like 70% of it, that actually ends up contributing to their overall lead score because it means that they're more engaged with our content. So having a video platform that is able to integrate with the softwares where you can use the video data to then decide how engaged the prospect is also super helpful, because then the sales team can use that to personalize their communication. So for example, in our account based marketing strategy, if our sales team sees that a particular decision maker they've sent a video to hasn't engaged with the video, they can follow up and be like, hey, I sent you that video the other day, but I noticed you didn't necessarily watch it, linking it here again for your review, right? Or if they see that they watched 70% of it but didn't reply, they can send out a message that says, hey, I saw that you watched my video, wondering what thoughts you have on it, right? So you can really personalize your communication based on the video engagement data, and you can automate a lot of that as well if the platform that you're using integrates with your sales CRM and with your marketing automation platform.
Yeah, so it makes sense. So it doesn't sound very costly to start using video, and there's always ways to experiment and learn and reiterate.
Yeah, for sure. Like honestly, I think the only real investments you need is like a good internet connection, like maybe a ring light if you don't have enough lighting in your space, in your workspace, a good mic maybe if you need one, and then just a good webcam. Like those are just the basic sort of work from home necessities anyway today. But like if you just have those necessities, I think you're good to get started with video. And video can also seem like super daunting initially, where like you're trying to get everything perfect from the first cut. But like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect for it to work. Like a lot of our customers have given us feedback that the more they have sort of just let go that need to be perfect in the video, the better it served their overall goals. And we see that with our own sales team as well. So, as I keep the video as natural as possible, and you don't really have to invest in too much. Just think about like how video data will sort of sit with the other data that you have across your systems, and how can
Mm.
you use that video data to sort of just send out more personalized communication and send out more relevant messaging.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And to leading with that question, actually, if somebody starts using video today, how do they measure the success? How do they see that okay, this is adding value to their business, and what are the
For
benchmarks?
sure. Yeah, so I think one of the things that I would definitely recommend is A/B testing your video strategy. So what works for somebody with one company with video may not work for everybody.
Mm,
So definitely like running some tests with like videos. So for example, if you have an email marketing campaign, send out one version with a video, one version without to see like what's really working more. In terms of like metrics to track, I think like, just the viewer engagement rate is like super important. So how much, what percentage of the video have viewers watched, and then like
mm,
I said, like pushing that data into your different systems can be super helpful for you to personalize your messaging. So
mm,
understanding, number one, is your video even getting views? Is it
mm,
getting views from the right type of persona, right? Because that's another piece, especially with using video in marketing. Because it's
mm,
embedded, the video might be embedded on your website. That means
mm,
pretty much anyone visiting your website can be watching that video and viewing and engaging with it. But not everyone, as we know in SaaS, that visits a website is necessarily the right kind of ICP or like the right buyer persona. Not everyone might fit your ideal customer profile. So
mm,
understanding if your video is getting a ton of views, that's something to celebrate. But you also need to understand whether it's relevant views, right? So understanding what is the geography of these users, what are the titles, what are the personas like, I think is also super important in understanding whether your video is attracting the right audience and
mm.
whether it's engaging the right viewer subset. So not necessarily prematurely celebrating when you see like a lot of views, but really going deep to understand like are those views the relevant views, and then if they are, can we push that data into our CRM and marketing automation, so we then really follow up with these highly relevant leads that are engaging with our video content. Because I think that's super critical. It's not just about putting the video out there, but it's about running the follow-ups after you're seeing some kind of success with those videos and making sure that that video translates into revenue or more
Mm.
meetings booked.
That makes sense. So what you're saying is not only who is viewing your video, but also not only how many are viewing your video, but also who is viewing your video is very important, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Krishna, continue.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to throw in one more point is like how we are, also starting to measure our videos at Vidyard is we use a product called Heap Analytics, which is a website analytics tool that allows you to understand, how users are interacting with your website and product.
Mm,
And by throwing in the Heap script on our Vidyard video share pages, we're trying to understand how many people that view a video or engage with a video actually go back into our product and take a specific action. So, for example, in product onboarding, we send videos that are embedded in email. So, when you sign up for Vidya today, you get the first welcome email contains a video from one of our sales reps talking about how you can use the tool and how you can get started. So, we
mm,
want to see whether that video is actually encouraging people to log into the product, right? And so,
mm,
using Heap and Vidyard, we're able to build a funnel that says out of X number of people that have viewed a video, or that have watched our video, how many of them have had a product session subsequently after, right? And so that really helps you track the video all the way up to like your product engagement and product behavior data. So just
mm,
wanted to share that that could also be one potential way that you track video all the way to end result.
mm. Yeah, makes sense actually. And audience, if you have any questions from Karishma, please feel free to comment. We'll start taking on questions right now. Karishma, before we go to questions, do you have any closing thoughts or ideas or hacks that you would like to share with the audience today?
Sure. I think in terms of like hacks specifically for videos, maybe starting off with like sales is keeping them short and simple, I think is really critical. So even with with this video strategy, you want to make sure that like you're still engaging the viewer and only communicating what's like absolutely necessary. So maybe writing out a script in advance, like you don't have to write a super detailed script, but at least writing down like the top 2 to 3 points that you want to say in your video before you make the video can be super helpful to help you really like keep your thoughts concise and help you think about what you want to say before you shoot that video. So that
Mm,
can be helpful. So keeping the video short, we've noticed that like videos less than 1 minute long work best in the prospecting, in the sales prospecting cycle. So especially when you're using it for sales, like keeping it less than 60 seconds tends to be really useful. Personalizing the video is also super helpful. So we see the strategy where we hold up like a whiteboard with our prospect's name on it, like working really well compared to when the video doesn't have any props. So like think about what kind of props you can use in your video to make it like super exciting and make it feel more personal. That also tends to really work well. Um, and yeah, I think like those are the two sort of core tips for sales. For
Hmm.
marketing, I think really thinking about like the story that you want to tell with your video. So if it's a customer case study video, for example, like what is that critical message that you want to bring out in that video? Like thinking through that and scripting that in advance, I think can be really helpful. But again, like a tip for video and marketing as well is that just because it's a marketing video doesn't have to be high production. Like we see the video from our co-founder, he literally shot it in his like in his home. Like he didn't have any high production setup for that, but that video performs really well because he's just welcoming all new users and saying like that they hit an awesome milestone. And something simple like that tends to work really well. So even if you're a marketer, try to think about like what simple strategies you can execute with video. It doesn't have to be super complex and high production.
Yeah, that makes total sense actually. So it doesn't have to be a lot of high production. It just has to be a real content, real you, and just keep your messages short and crisp and personalized for the user, right?
Absolutely. And related to that, like one of the questions you had earlier, which I realized I didn't really answer directly, was around like what kind of team do you need to execute on a video strategy? And I would say that your sales team today is the team that you should just get started with, right? Because again, it comes down to not you don't need like somebody who has tons of experience like shooting videos to get started with video. Like your existing sales team can just literally start today. It just comes with knowing that it doesn't have to be perfect and it might take a couple of tries. But I think like when the sales team starts to use video, they really get used to it. And the way we leverage our sales team within the marketing team is like, for example, as a marketer, um, if I need somebody to volunteer to like shoot a video that I can then embed in an email campaign, I reach out to our sales team. I reach out to our reps who are super, who enjoy creating videos, and I'll just ask for somebody to volunteer and just create a video that I can then embed in an email. So once your sales team really starts to use video, it's they become the asset that your marketing team can then tap into and really use uh, for creating video content.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting insight, and that is going to be a teaser for our video that sales team can become the video team.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. Your sales team is your video team. You don't need a separate video team to get started. Because sales rep generally tend to be confident. I think, like in my experience, most salespeople tend to be confident. They have a lot of experience talking to customers. They come with solid communication skills, so they're the best sort of persona I think to tap into within your organization to create videos. And I think like even for co-founders, it's a super interesting strategy to like communicate, like I said, feature updates, funding announcements, these types of things. So it's really something that anyone on your team can get started with. And once you identify who those people are within your organization that like to create such videos and are seeing success with it, then they become the resources that everyone else can start to tap into to build more video content.
Makes total sense actually. So we have few question, Karishma, in the comments. I will uh, put first question here. So
Mhm.
Surya is asking basically any tips on the length of the videos, considering people's limited attention span. What's too long and what's too short?
Yeah, so I think, like I said a little bit earlier, I perhaps didn't read this question earlier on, but I think in general for one-to-one sales prospecting videos, anything less than 60 seconds or anything within 60 seconds is recommended if it's a video, like, for example, where you're following up with a prospect that's missed a meeting. So if it's a simple concept like that, you don't really need more than a minute to explain it. If it's something a little bit more complex, where, say, like you're showing a screen of your product and you're trying to walk through something, I would say like keeping it up to 3 minute stops would be beneficial. So really think about like what you would like to say within that, and then try to tailor it down to that like 3 minute sort of sweet spot. If it's an asynchronous product demo, so for example, you're taking a product demo that you then want to share with multiple stakeholders in the team, like I mentioned, once a demo is done, if you want to use this as a tool to follow up and like remind everybody of what was discussed, then you might want to keep the video like within 5 minutes or so, because it's hard to like squeeze everything into like a 3 minute or like a less than a minute sort of video. So it really depends on the video, I think. In general, if it's a simple concept I would that you're trying to explain in the video, then I would say less than a minute or within a minute. But if it's something a lot more complex, then you might need to increase the length. So it just really depends on the context.
Great. I will pick another question. So, would you recommend videos with interesting animation or videos with the sales agent? I personally find the VOX types of videos interesting. I think we have discussed this before, but you can repeat the answer.
Yeah, so this is really like like I had mentioned before. It's about my recommendation would be having a human in the video versus the animated video, because that really helps like build that relationship and keep it super real. And we highly recommend when you're using video to have a human in it, like talking through something.
Okay. So Navneet is asking, what would you recommend in-app product tools, video tutorials, or if there is a way to combine the two?
I would say video tutorials is super helpful. It's a super helpful way to onboard customers onto your product. So hosting your video tutorials maybe on like a support page. So if you have like a help center, for example, like what we do at Vidyard is every help article of ours, or at least most help articles of ours, have a video of our customer success team talking through that particular help question, and then that becomes super content that you can use within your product onboarding cycle. So for example, let's say we have a help article on how to create your first video, and we have our support rep talking through how you can get started with that. That then becomes like an evergreen form of content that we can surface up in the product using, say, app cues or an in-app banner, that the person can then click through and go watch the content. So it really becomes like a helpful asset that can be reused across product onboarding. You can also embed that same help video within your email. So when a customer signs up and you put them in an onboarding nurture, the first couple of emails can have some of those help article videos embedded in those emails so they can, understand how to get started. And that becomes a form of content that rests across all of your onboarding channels or onboarding assets.
Yeah, so that totally makes sense actually, and we are done with questions. But I've got just one more question. Can the audience choose the language of the video? Interactive ads, gamification seems really interesting. Something like Black Mirror episode.
So when you say can the audience choose the language of the video, like specifically for Vidyard, because you are the person who's shooting and like creating that video, it can be like, it can be super multicultural, right? The language can be pretty much anything you want it to be. So I think that lies in the hand of the content creator. Um, so yeah, I think that really lies in the hands of the content creator. Like you have the freedom to sort of create a video in any kind of language with any kind of context, as long as it's relevant to your user. I think that's what matters.
It can be a feature request for you probably, that in interactive video people can choose the language that they understand on a website, not necessarily a one-on-one personalized video, but when it is one to many personalized video on a website, etc.
For sure. Yeah. So today, Vidyard really specializes in that one-to-one communication. And that's what we've really sort of been. I mean, we work really well for the marketing use case as well, but our sweet spot is really that one-to-one sort of form of communication. And like I said, even marketers now are sort of moving into that one-to-one. Even if it's one-to-many, the video feels more one-to-one, right? Where it's shot by a human, sent to the user. So we're sort of moving towards that one-to-one sort of communication style, because we've seen that has the most amount of impact.
Makes sense, Krishma, and thank you for joining us and sharing all the thoughts around video marketing, and especially the use cases and the numbers that you have shared. Those were very insightful. Uh, we don't have any questions now, but if you have any closing thoughts, we are anyway at the end of the show.
Sure. No, this was awesome. Thanks for having me, Akib. I think this was a great conversation. I guess, like, just closing thought, like, I'm available on Twitter, LinkedIn. Like, if you have any more thoughts on video or just like building an early stage startup or working within a high growth startup environment, if you'd like to bounce off thoughts, feel free to reach out to me on either LinkedIn or Twitter, and happy to continue the conversation there.
Cool. Thank you very much again, Krishma, and uh, and we hope a very good, a best of luck and future for you and in your and in your life and in your journey.
Thanks so much, Akib. Looking forward to continuing our conversations on Mail Modo, and happy to super happy to have been part of the conversation today.
So